Hi, I'm Pat Dubois. I'm here to talk to you about being an RSVP volunteer and in particular with Meals on Wheels, and encourage you to join the organization and enjoy the benefits of volunteering. Welcome to today's podcast.
Welcome to the newest RSVP Northern Virginia podcast. RSVP is the largest senior volunteer organization in Northern Virginia, serving 30 wonderful nonprofits and government agencies, and all of our volunteers are 55 years young or better. This is Rob Payne, Outreach Specialist with RSVP, and this afternoon, or this morning, whatever time you happen to be listening, but we are at the Volunteer Fairfax headquarters. Of course, RSVP is a program of Volunteer Fairfax, and we are with RSVP volunteer Pat Dubois. Pat, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Thank you. Pat is from Falls Church, and she is an RSVP volunteer, and she volunteers with several different projects, but primarily with Meals on Wheels of Arlington. Pat, you want to tell us a little bit about how you got involved with RSVP?
Sure, I'd be happy to. When I retired, I knew I wanted to volunteer, but I wasn't sure which opportunities really suited me. I wanted flexibility in when I volunteered, and my goal was to meet other people who were also retired, to expand my contacts, but also to serve the community. So I found RSVP through the Fairfax County website, and then went to an information session and met with the coordinator, who gave me, based on my interest, a list of organizations that may suit my needs or my desires. So Meals on Wheels happened to be one of them, and I was contacted by the coordinator of the Meals on Wheels Arlington group, and then received some basic training in delivering the meals and about the program, details about the program, and I started approximately 2 years ago.
Excellent. That's great. Tell our listeners a little bit about what Meals and Wheels is, sort of just a description of the program, and what exactly do you do as a volunteer?
Sure. Well, the program is to provide necessary meals 5 days a week, 2 meals per day, a hot meal and a cold meal, to those who are either unable to prepare meals for themselves, who are unable to do food shopping, and who may be disabled or recovering from some health challenges.
Think about Meals on Wheels, and they say, well, okay, you're delivering food to folks that need that service, but it's a lot more than just dropping off food at somebody's house. Is that correct?
That is correct. Oftentimes, you are the only contact that person has on any given day. They may live alone, oftentimes. So having that contact and developing a relationship with those clients is very important for them and very rewarding for the volunteer.
Do you see the same folks every week? I mean, are you shuffled around with different clients, or how does that work?
There are multiple routes that are designed to allow the volunteer to go through, either to serve anywhere from 6 to 10, 12 clients on any given route. Oftentimes, the coordinator or the dispatcher actually has the volunteer perform or service the same routes during the month. For example, I volunteer every week, and during the month, I have 2 specific routes that I deliver meals to. So I've gotten an opportunity over the last couple of years to really know many of those people within those routes. Some of the clients have healthcare workers who answer the door because they are unable to. They may be disabled. So you also get to know who the healthcare aides are as well.
What about time commitments? I know that's one of the big questions, and one of the great things about RSVP is we can fit different opportunities into people's time schedules, time requirements. What on an average day, would you say? Does it vary? Is it 2 hours, 3 hours? How does that work?
And that's what's nice about Meals on Wheels. Of course, it's the same time every day, 5 days a week, and you can either volunteer one day a month, which some people do. I like to volunteer once a week, and you have to report by 11 o'clock in the morning, and typically you're done by, I'd say the longest route may take an hour and a half.
Pat, could you talk a little bit more about some of the clients that you work with?
Sure. Some, for example, have been on their own for quite some time. They've lost a spouse. You come to their homes, and they look forward to seeing you and actually sharing really some of their events in their lives. They talk about family. I had one woman one day, I went in, she invited me in. We sat down at her kitchen table, and she talked to me about her experiences. She had lost her husband a few years before, and she was originally from Italy. So I found out how she met her husband, how she immigrated to the U.S. It was just a wonderful story, and it meant the world to her to be able to share sort of her experiences and talk about her loved ones and her family.
That's great. And getting back to the aging in place, and I think this is a really important point to stress, whether you're volunteering for Meals on Wheels, whether you're driving folks to doctor's appointment with one of the Shepherd Centers in Fairfax County or with Volunteer Solutions, what you're doing in part is enabling people to live independently. Is that accurate?
That's correct. And although for Meals on Wheels, the meals are delivered 5 days a week, at the beginning when someone joins the program, they're actually provided with some frozen meals, which allow them either to have additional meals over the weekend if they need to, or if there is inclement weather where regular meals cannot be delivered, then they have backup food.
Now, you may have mentioned this earlier, but I want to ask, how do you get the meals? Do you go to a central delivery point, or how does that work?
Yes, there is.
First off, you don't have to. I want to make sure everybody understands that just so people are crystal clear on this point. You do not have to cook the meals. That's done by somebody
There
else.
is a contract with a caterer who delivers the meals based on whatever the requirements are that the organization has provided them. So they deliver the meal same time every day, 2 meals. And the volunteers meet at this in Arlington. It's at a particular church. We meet there, same location every day, and pick up the meals. There's a separate container for cold meals and for hot meals, and we count them to make sure that based on the route we're doing, we have the right number of meals per client, and then we deliver them.
And whether it be Meals on Wheels of Arlington or Fairfax or Alexandria, a real effort is made to keep the volunteer drivers close to where they want to be. I mean, you would, like, for instance, you would never be asked to go drive somebody or drive a meal to Alexandria or farther than you want to be. I mean, is that
that's correct?
Is that
the
accurate?
Various Meals on Wheels organization actually cover a certain region or territory. I believe there is one in the city of Falls Church that covers that area. Arlington covers just Arlington County.
Okay. Now, in addition to Meals on Wheels, as a matter of fact, the first time I met you, you were at what we call one of our CRGs in Fairfax, the Fairfax Government Center, helping on the food line. Consistency there. You do tell me about. Do you do some other events for us other than Meals on Wheels?
Right. Whenever there's a need for these one-off maybe events where they need volunteers, we get the opportunity through the newsletter or through a direct email looking for volunteers. So it's great to have an opportunity to do that. Then you get to work with other volunteers who you may not see on a regular basis, depending on what organization you're volunteering for. So that makes it really fun. And I've met some wonderful people doing that.
That's great. And you mentioned the one-offs, and I always like to stress that point because a lot of the folks who come into RSVP, they're either out of town or they have grandkids or whatever, and maybe they don't have time for the regular commitment of, let's say, a Meals on Wheels might require, but we do have a lot of different events to choose from, like you said, the one-offs. Where you can just show up and for a couple, I mean, in that case, a few hours and then.
Correct. As a volunteer, you're able to determine what type of activities suits your schedule, and that's what's really nice about RSVP is that if you can't volunteer for a particular event, then there are other opportunities. This year, I've also volunteered for the VITA, the income tax preparation program for low income.
Right.
And that, for the center that I've been volunteering at, it's been only a Saturday commitment.
Okay. Which center have you been volunteering at?
Homestretch in the city of Falls Church.
Okay.
And that's been great. I've met some wonderful people and other volunteers. So it's been such a great experience. I'm planning on doing it again next year.
Have you actually been doing the tax work or?
No, I've actually been doing tax preparation.
Really, that's great, and that takes some training. I mean, to do that, that's a little bit more of an intensive.
Absolutely, and I did training through Fairfax County, and the training was excellent.
Why do you think senior volunteering is important? Why is it important that seniors get involved in volunteering?
Oh gosh, for so many different reasons. Part of it is for our own really well-being. Volunteering, giving back to the community, to me is so rewarding. I worked for many years where I was unable to volunteer, and when I retired, I knew that was something I really wanted to do, and it's been it's been absolutely wonderful, just in meeting others who also volunteer, in helping clients, whether it's through Meals on Wheels or the VITA program or other volunteer opportunities. It's just been I can't imagine not volunteering.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic, and regarding RSVP in particular, why would you recommend, if you mentioned retiring, if someone is just retired and they've decided they finally have time to give back to the community or help the community, however you want to put that, why would you advise them to try RSVP as a way to do that?
RSVP gives you an opportunity to look at different volunteering activities across multiple organizations, and it gives you an opportunity to see what fits with your personality. Whether you want to do Meals on Wheels, you can either do it alone or you can do it with a partner, which many people do, or you can volunteer as part of a group. So the type of interaction you prefer, RSVP gives you that type of opportunity.
That's great. And just for those listening, we have some background sound effects. So it sounds like a kitchen in the background. So we did that particularly because we want people to get the full Meals on Wheels effect. It's lunch hour at Volunteer Fairfax, and the recording studio, as it may, is right next to the kitchen. So it's a busy time here, and just so people know what's going on. That's fantastic. Well, Pat, thank you again for joining us today. Just to wrap things up for those folks who might be listening out there, sort of on the post here about volunteering with or about they're not quite sure what is RSVP. What would you just say, sort of in summation?
Well, I highly recommend anyone who's thinking of volunteering or really loves to help people, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert. And I have to say, I'm not one who is out there. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and you meet people who are like-minded, who enjoy volunteering, and it's extremely rewarding. So if you're thinking about it, just take the chance and join RSVP. You can select what volunteer activities you get involved in, and just try it. I highly recommend it.
Wonderful. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate everything you do, for all the great work you do, and all the great support you also give us from an outreach standpoint. If you'd like to get more information about RSVP, please go to our website, www.rsvp.org. RSVP-NOVA.org, or go to our Facebook page. You can find us on Facebook at RSVP Northern Virginia, or you can call our RSVP volunteer hotline, which is 703-403-5360. And thank you again for joining us today in our podcast, and we hope you'll join us next week for another edition of the RSVP Northern Virginia podcast.